"Oh my God, look at this girl, how she was and how she became." Angel's mother always knew that other children would be scared of her daughter. She had seen people stare. To protect their daughter, Surprise Salon and her husband, Dale, mostly kept Angel at home to play with her siblings and cousins. But then one day, the inevitable happened. A 4-year-old boy approached Angel while the family were out and shouted at her, "Monster." Angel did not flinch. She just patted him on the shoulder and said, "Hi." I was so amazed by her response, Cypress says. I was so proud of her. 4 years ago, Angel, or Preki, as she is also known, was born in a public hospital in the Philippines. Surprise remembers an ominous silence after her 4th child was born. Angel did not cry like her other babies, and she was immediately whisked away to another hospital for treatment. A doctor explained to Surprise that something was wrong, but it wasn't until she met her baby 5 days later that Surprise realized how bad things were. When I saw her for the first time, I cried a lot, Surprise says. I cried every moment I looked at her and I blamed myself for her condition. A doctor diagnosed Angel with encephalocele, a brain hernia that occurs when the skull and tissue surrounding the brain doesn't close up normally in the womb. Doctors don't know what causes it, but the problem is common in Southeast Asia. These hernias can occur at the front, side, or back of the head and, depending on the severity, can include a small or large amount of the baby's brain, causing damage and functional problems. When Angel was 4 months old, her parents raised about $5,500 to pay for surgery in the Philippines to make sure the hernia was separated from the brain and sealed off. This would help prevent her brain from spilling into the hernia and causing trouble. The surgery was successful and Angel seemed to develop without brain damage. But the hernia was still covering most of her left eye and squashing her nose, making it harder for her to run freely and play and breathe and sleep like other children. She would often hold the lump up or move it from side to side so she could see, a hindrance when trying to play with both hands. At night, sometimes she couldn't sleep on her back because it blocked her breathing. Surprise says Angel knew other children were scared of her but she remained open and friendly. Cypress says they couldn't pay another $8,000 to remove Angel's hernia, so she scoured the internet for information about her condition to see what more could be done. One day I found a story about a 12-year-old Filipino boy who received a charity operation in the United States. She fired off emails to the hospital where it was done and they referred her to Interplast, a group of Australian and New Zealand surgeons who donate their work to people needing surgery in the Asia-Pacific region. Interplast told Surprise to take Angel to one of their doctors who was visiting a city 2 hours from where they live. The doctor connected them with the Children First Foundation to see if they could bring Angel to Australia for the procedure. The group agreed. They paid to fly Angel and her father, Dale, to Australia, and persuaded the craniofacial unit at the Adelaide Women's and Children's Hospital to perform the operation in September. When the couple arrived in August, they were collected from the airport by Foundation staff and taken to Kilmore Farm, which currently cares for 10 other children from neighboring countries. The foundation provided them with warm clothes and welcomed them to their home, which is known as a fat farm because children often need high-calorie food to fatten them up for medical treatment. In September, Angel and her father flew to Adelaide for the surgery. They were received by an interpreter organized by the foundation to help them during their stay in the hospital. Surgeon Walter Flabber and his team examined Angel's brain to ensure that it had separated from her hernia during the previous operation in the Philippines. Was her. This made their process simpler and less risky. Over a period of 4 hours, Flapper and his team carefully cut the 200-gram lesion off Angel's face. It was filled with abnormal brain tissue and fluid that she didn't need. They then used some bone from her hip to close the hole in her forehead to ensure another hernia did not develop. They pulled the remaining skin together to sew her face. A scar now runs from her forehead to her nose, surrounding her nostrils. When Angel woke up, she wondered where her eyes had gone, Dale says, because they were covered for the first 3 or 4 days. When Angel finally saw her face, she didn't express much surprise, but her demeanor told a different story. When she got out of bed, she had nothing obstructing her vision or breathing, so she could run faster and use both hands to tap on the piano without having to hold her face. Flabber said Angel would need to return to Australia for more work to shape her nose, which had been pushed aside due to the weight of the hernia. Nose reconstruction can happen when you're older, he says, possibly as a teenager. After the operation, Angel and Dale returned to Kilmore Farm so she can recuperate. In late September, they returned home to be reunited with the rest of the family who were overjoyed to see them. While Angel still looks different from the other children, Cypress and Dale say they are very grateful for the help she has received. They feel more optimistic about her future. When she returns home, they are overjoyed at her new face and take her to their local church for the first time. Last week, they threw a birthday party for her on November 5th and invited more people than they used to. We celebrated it with the kids in our neighborhood and other relatives, Cypress says. She was very happy.